Hopefully everyone is seeing a full screen of an announcement.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah.
So we are recording today's session because the way that these things go, I've got a huge number of slides to go racing through. And what I hope people will find is that we'll talk about everything very quickly. We'll send you the presentation afterwards. We'll send you the video recording afterwards. And if you need to sort of go through and review anything, it's all there to follow up with. I've sort of mentioned that each menu topic has a hyperlink to Parish Online's knowledge base, which is being rewritten as we speak. And some of the stuff that they're writing is absolutely brilliant. It's such a step up from anything that I've seen before from them, but it's tremendous. So, but it's not all there yet, but wherever there is a link, I've put it in because I think it's tremendous stuff. So as you go racing through, if you have thoughts or questions or whatever, please would you stick them in the chat so that we can get to them afterwards. And if we run out of time, I can still answer your questions. And just a point for everyone in case there's urgent preparations needed, we will be doing interactive work halfway through, which will involve you lot going into Parish Online yourselves. So I hope everyone A is willing to do that, and B has a user account where they have at least editorial privileges, if not data manager or even administrator privileges. But I mention that in case someone needs to do some hectic telephoning in the next 30 minutes. So let me dash on. What we're going to cover today is the whole of the top row item of menus in Parish Online, and I'll show you what that means later. We're going to discuss briefly the rules of geometry for parish layers, and then we're going to get on with it. We'll create a layer of one each of the three geometry types, and we'll put data into each one, and then we'll show them all at once, and then there'll be a Q&A session at the end if anyone's still with me. I don't have a time limit on this, so if anybody wants to carry on afterwards, I'm very happy to do that. But those of you who do have time limits, we are going to be racing through this. Sorry about that. So in the top menu of Parish Online, I'm talking about this line up here, and each of these items is a drop-down menu of instructions, and we're going to go through the instructions for each one of them. So the first one I'm going to start with is what I call hamburger, because that's the American term for that sort of menu item. And when you click on that, you get a sudden change of screen in that the left-hand column has disappeared. So basically, it's just a way of getting extra screen space. I don't know that many people use this because the left-hand column of the screen changes all the way as we're going through, and you need it there. So I think this is sort of a one-off item that you use when you're desperately trying to show something, but then you need to toggle it back on again. So you click back on to toggle the layers back on. So now we're back in the full years, and I've just taken a snapshot of the top line that we're working with because we've moved on now to the view line. And view has three choices. And we'll start off with bookmarks. Now, bookmarks, I think, are fabulous. What they do is take a screenshot, if you like, of your screen as you have it with whatever layers you've got chosen, whatever scale, whatever zoom you're in. It records all of that and saves it. And then whenever you click back on the screenshot, a bookmark, it takes you straight back to that place. So to give you an example of how that works, I'm asking you to look down at the bottom here. There's a little place called Thorney and Muchneley Ham. And Muchneley, for those of you who know this part of Somerset, so you know where that is. And now I'm going to click on this bookmark. The reason being it's going to take you somewhere completely different. So now we've jumped, first of all, to a completely different scale. We're now on a scale of 50 meters to this particular distance. We've brought up a layer of all the planning applications that we're looking at the moment in Long Sutton. And basically, it's saved a lot of time because you're sort of hunting and pecking your way to find this, otherwise can be time consuming. So bookmarks are tremendously helpful. There's a couple of snags to them. One of them is that the order of the bookmarks is not sortable. So they come up in whatever order that you either create them or whatever the system feels like. The best way around that, I've found, is to turn on the search facility in your computer with just your regular Control F. So if I do that now, you'll notice that up at the top of the screen, there's now this blank search box, which is what the Control F is. And you can type in there whatever you happen to remember about your bookmark. So I've typed in 21/034 because I know I've got several of those, and it's automatically highlighted those for me. So now I can click on whichever one I like, which is, as you can see, I've got hundreds of them. So this is the fastest way of finding any particular bookmark. The other thing about bookmarks is that they are specific to the user that created them. So if you want other people to share in your bookmarks, you need to use an account that you and other people will also be using. So down here in Long Sutton, I have an account which I call Parish Council, and everybody on the Parish Council has access to that. So they can all see and use my bookmarks because they're pointing towards things that I think they should be looking at. And away we go. So I'm now going to go back up to the view menu up here and select the next item, which is Coordinate Finder. Now, this is a way for you, if you've been given a map reference of some sort and you want to know where on earth it is on the map, this is how you find out. So you go into view, you click on Coordinate Finder, and it brings up this screen. So the left-hand column has now changed. You have a choice in here of 3 items. So you can use the British National Grid, which is what most of the coordinates that you take off Parish Online, for instance, are in. Or you can get a regular lat long, or you can get whatever World Geographical Standard 84 is, which is something to do with Mercator projection, I think. So when you get given a set of coordinates, it's going to be one of those 3 to be useful, but selecting which one it is not always simple because you often get lat long given to you in hours, minutes, and seconds, and this system only reads decimal entries. So if you need to convert your hours, minutes, and seconds to decimal, there's a link here to let you do just that. And when you're in the longitude and latitude ones, longitude east of Greenwich is positive, and we're mostly west. And so when you're putting in your easting, put it in with a minus sign in front of it to find you. So, oops, sorry, I've gone too far. And when you enter your values and click on go, it'll put your location as a dot. Now, occasionally, certainly I'm guilty of this, I've got the wrong choice of coordinates up here, and I end up somewhere in the middle of the South Atlantic Ocean. Or when I was writing this program, I clicked on our local church and it put it just south of Dublin, which just shows some things. But if you can't find where you are, scroll out and zoom out, and eventually it'll show you where on earth on the world's surface you've chosen to be. But it's a great system if you've got some coordinates and you want to find out where they are. So what I did here was enter in the coordinates I know for our local church, put them in, and you'll see that there's no minus sign because although it's an easting, it's in British National Grid format, so you don't need one. And you click on search, and lo and behold, it finds our church, and it very nicely puts the link for you. Now, I then said, okay, so how about doing it lat long? And you can see here now we have had to put the minus in front of the 2.75, but we are at 51 degrees north, so that's fair enough. And you can go the other way. Now, this is not listed anywhere in a menu, but I can just mention it to you. If you right click on any item anywhere in Parish Online, it will come up with this little mini menu here, copy bookmarks, add feature. And if you go into the copy one, it says, do you want the coordinates, which is the British National Grid survey coordinates, or do you want them in Latin long? And it doesn't seem to do anything, but it copies them to your clipboard for you. And what I tend to do, just because it's a handy empty space, is then paste into the source code up here, so I can at least see that it's recorded something. And then I know I've got the coordinates which I can do whatever I want to. So that's the coordinate finder. Last item under view is the legend, which is really just a color code of what you got on your screen. So on the screen at the moment, I didn't have anything on that was using colors. So we went back to the main screen, turned on addresses, which you do by clicking in this collection here, and then selecting the layer of address spaces underneath, which looks like that. And when you turn it on, just by clicking in that layer, all the houses suddenly get little points on them. And the beauty of this is, for this presentation, is that these are all color-coded in different codes. So then if I go back and turn on View Legend, this is what we get. So I've got to View, go onto Legend, click on Legend, and up in your left-hand column now pops the color coding for all of these different period dots. For those of you who haven't used the address space before, it is fantastic. Click on any one of these dots and it will come up in the left-hand column with the address of that particular building and the postcode. So it's all public information. There's no personal information there. Fabulously useful if you're trying to match up COVID-19 people who need medications and food brought to them with volunteers who are going to do it. You can color code them differently. So make the people who need help in yellow, make the people who are going to give help in, say, green, and then you just match the nearest yellow to the nearest green piece of cake, and you've got both addresses available. Fabulous stuff. However, moving on, we've now looked at the first two options, the hamburger, which toggles the left column on and off, and the bookmarks, coordinates, and legend under view. So now we're going to race into print, and print is up here. And what you want to do before you go into print is roughly get to what it is you want to print. So I've zoomed in here into the middle of Long Sutton because everybody wants to have a printout of the middle of Long Sutton. And then we go up and we click on the print menu. And what it does is put a black screen or around the area that you're going to see in the printout. So it's a very good way of knowing if you've got the right size that you want to print out. So if you wanted to see rather a smaller area in more detail, you can just zoom in. And on the other contrary wise, if you want to see more area and less detail, you can zoom out and you can scroll left and right. So when you've got what you want in the square here, you just then say, I want a title, I want a description. You can choose the size of printout you're going to get. And there are some choices here, which we'll go through in a second. So I'm just going to go on to the next slide to show some of those choices in place. So I've given it a title, I've given it a description. I've just clicked on this little arrow here so you can see the choices. So basically you've got A3 and A4 in portrait and landscape, and then planning applications is a one-off for those parishes which are creating planning applications. So I think the next one I've just filled in those so that you can see underneath like that. And I've put in a north arrow and said I want a PDF file as opposed to a PNG. Not a huge amount of difference, except the PNGs tend to be a lot bigger. So PDF is small and neat, and very, what's the word, controllable, printable, because it's a document format, and PNG is graphics. So when we're happy, we're going to click on print. There's a separate discussion further on in the session about toggle masks, so I haven't talked about it here. So I'm clicking on print now, and it goes off and thinks to itself, although you can't see it, there's a little sort of swirly arrow thing here going round and around and around saying I'm thinking, and then when it finishes, down here it says I'm printing, and when it finishes, it comes up and says, here is your print. If you put a title in, the print name will be the title. If you haven't, it'll just be some random system generated form that you have no idea what it means. And then you just click on this little icon here to see it. Now, just a cautionary note, a lot of people have said when they finish printing, clicking on the print, there's nothing here. And the reason is that there may be so much data up here that it's scrolled down. So all you need to do is to click on the scrolling bar and go down, and you will indeed find this title, and you can click on the print the icon. And when you print on the icon, it shows you exactly what you've got. You've now got a nice little frame around it. You've got your title, you've got your description, you've got your author, you've got your date, you've got a copyright message here so that you don't offend the Ordnance Survey people. And you've got your north arrow. Had we been using colors of any sort, you could also add a legend which comes in on the right-hand side, much the same way as we saw before. Very useful. Once you're in this state, you can choose to download it into your computer electronically, so you can send it to anyone by email, or you can just go ahead and print it out on paper if you are, for some extraordinary reason, still operating in the 19th century and you think paper is useful stuff. So where are we? Other options, yes, I've gone through what you can do here. Rather than choose a template of a fixed size, you can choose a size that suits you. If someone says, can you give me something in 5,000 scale, then you can just choose to do it. And you can hide your name and you can hide the toggle as you wish. Other choices in print. So we've now done the first 3 items, and we're going to go into table next. Now, table is a fabulous way of getting data out of the system and editing data that's already in the system. So if I click on table, it instantly comes up with table view and a big empty screen that says, what do you want to have a look at? So the first thing you want to do is to check the layer of data that you want to get information. So we click on that. It comes up with all the layers. This, you can see, scrolls down. You can go all the way through down to Z if you've got a layer starting with Z. And we're just going to say, for today's arguments, let's click on allotment plots. So I'm clicking on allotment plots, and it comes up with our local allotments and basically fills the screen with the data that you've put in. And you can now drill down into that if you want to. If you suppose that this is 50 or 60 rows deep, and you want to see 5 particular ones of them or whatever it is, you can select what you want to filter on. So you can click on column and say, I want to select, in this case, I'm going to choose ID. And then I'm going to put a value that I want to have up in this box here. So I click on ID and put in the value here, GSS. And lo and behold, it comes up with just the 2 allotments that have got my initials in the ID, which is very handy. Now, you can, if you want, edit here. So if you decide that actually we should have a status in here, you can just click there and enter the status that should be in there. The same for any of the fields over which you've got control. Or if you want to filter on more than one item, so instead of just GSS, you want something else, you click on this little menu item up here, and it lets you do a batch input, and you can just type in what you want. So I say, let's put in long and let's put in plots. So I'm going to add those, which you can see there, and then I save it. And you're going to get any record that's got the letter or the word long or the word plot in the title, and as it happens, there are 3 of those, which is very handy. Now, when you start editing, this table obeys the feature editor rules, which basically say you cannot get rid of data if it's a required field, which is something we'll discuss later on in the session. But by all means, change your data here as you wish, but you can't put a required field with no data in it. You can't delete everything and just leave it that way. It'll say can't do that. Just that if you meet that, now you know why it's happened. And there's no way that you can add a new record to here, because it seems like it would be the obvious and easy way to do it. But when you think about it, you have no location data in your head. You've got no idea what these numbers are for your new location. So you can't add a new record, but you can certainly edit any record that's there. All right. So the last thing, which is a very new addition, which I think is really useful, you can click on a particular row. So I'm clicking on this one, and then click View on Map. And it takes you directly to that particular plot. So here we are. And, if I divided this up into subplots, which I haven't because there aren't any, it would have taken you to the specific one you clicked on, which I think is really good. So going back to the table, you can also export this data. It goes into a comma separated value file, which is something you can open up with a spreadsheet or with Notepad. So if I click on export, it tells me it is going to do the export. If you wanted to add metadata, which is things like the date the system last modified the record, you can do that, but most people don't need it. So click on export, and it gives you the information in table form. And then you can just download it. So we've gone through the major menus, got as far as table, and now we're going to go on to tools. And you'll see that there's 4 options under tools. The first one being one that most people in parish councils love, which is the tool for measurement. So we're going to click on measurement. And I'm going to say, let's measure length. And it will default to length, but you can always just click on area if you want to measure area. You can click on here and choose the unit of measurement. So you'll find that all these lengths are magnificently metric until suddenly down the bottom it says something like rods, which I love that. It's tremendous. And then for today's exercise, we're going to say, I want to know the length of the road from here at this junction down to where it hits the parish boundary. So what I'm going to do is put the mouse on that particular junction and click it. And then you'll see when you click a mouse, it then has a red trail behind it, and you can move the trail down the road you're going on. Every time you want to change direction, you just click once, and then you carry on dragging to the next inflection point, and then you click again, and then you carry on. And this is a rough and ready system, but it gives me the answer I want. You know, it's 1950 meters. For government work, that's pretty good. You can make it a lot more accurate if you zoom right in, and you can just make your line follow the road very closely, and I'm sure it'll go up in length because you've been more precise. So if you need precision, zoom in, and if you just want rough and ready, keep it zoomed out. I think on this one I said, okay, let's go and measure the area. We're going to measure the area of our play area because lots of people seem to need to know that for insurance purposes and so forth. So again, I've zoomed in to get a bit more precision. You find that when you're in here, although you can see my mouse as an arrow, it actually changes to a crosshairs when you're in this mode. You stick it on one corner and click once, and then just start dragging. So what I've done is clicked here, dragged down to there, clicked again, and then I got here, I've double clicked, and it said, okay, I should be finished. And instantly it tells me we've got 930 square meters. You then have the choice, if you click on here, you can save your file, you can remove the measurement as opposed to measuring, there's this big clear all one, you can just move this particular measurement. And that's the other choices on tools. So we're going back up to click on tools again, and we're going to go down to isochrone. Now, isochrone is a wonderful Greek word meaning equal time. So basically it's saying how far can you go in a particular time from your starting point. So it gives you the choice of transport. You can either have your car, you're walking, or you're bicycling. And it gives you these standard intervals, but you can change these if you want to. So I'm just saying, let's click on the central starting point and see what happens. So I click there, and up it comes with these 3 color zones. So it's not particularly precise, but there's sort of the dark green, there's the dark brown, and there's the light brown. I'm not quite sure what happens to this sort of right in between. But basically, you're saying, how far can you go in your car from the center of the village in 5 minutes, 15 minutes, or 30 minutes? And it's taking account of the variations in the roads. If you've got, if you've chosen to go walking, if you've got paths, are you walking across a lake? Are you walking across fields? Have you got to go through hedgerows? It takes all of that into account. So it's not just like a sort of a measure a distance circle. How far can you go in 5 minutes? It's actually a bit more accurate than that, because it is looking at the map and saying, well, how much of that is even and flat and pathway, and how much of it is going through hedgerows? So really useful for people who need to know how far they can run away in how much time. Next choice on the tools menu is annotate. So I'm clicking on that, and annotate will come up with this choice in the left-hand column. If you've already done annotations in the past, they will come up. I've cheerfully wiped everything out just for this purposes. So we're going to start by clicking on new. And then it comes up again and says, so what do you want? Do you want to have a point, a line, a polygon, or a label, or some combination of the two? Now, I have made the error in the past of thinking this is a circle. Guess what? It isn't. A circle is under the polygon layer. And what we're going to do is click on that so you can see why. So underneath the polygon, it comes up. The first question, it says, do you want to use a circle? And I'm saying yes. So I'm going to fill in that box. And I'm going to say, yes, I want a label. And I'm going to fill in that box and see what happens. So we'll take that. And it says, you can change the radius of this circle. Sorry, I should have told you I clicked on the middle of the village. So I then made the circle 500 meters long. You can change the color of the interior and the color of the line around the outside if you want to. I put a label in and I put in, I want to see houses within 500 meters of the village center. I'm all happy with that, so click on finish. And what happens is it saved it, it's recorded it. If you want to edit it, you can go in here. Or if you want to get into its data record, you can go in anywhere on the circle, which I mentioned in case you're doing this somewhere else other than the annotate menu. So you click inside here and it comes up with the data record for this circle. If you recall, what I wanted to do with this annotation, because I said so in the label, is I want to know about all the houses within 500 yards of the village center, or 500 meters, sorry, wrong century. So having got the circle here, I then turned on the, I tell a lie, sorry. I then went up to here and clicked on the 3 dots. And the 3 dots tell me, do you want to do a data extract? Yes, please. So I've clicked on data extract. And it says, from where do you wish to extract the data? So you click on here and choose the layer that you want. And I've said the address plus points, please. And then you can just click on run, which we do. And it comes up with the names of all the houses within 500 meters of the center of the village. And although it only seems like there's 10 of these here, but if you sort of scroll down on the right-hand side, it goes on for about 50 or 60, I think. So very useful a way of using annotate. You can also use annotate just as a temporary label because you're showing somebody something and you can say, well, this is what I want to draw your attention to, and then you can delete it. The idea, Parish Online themselves recommend you don't use it for permanent labels. There's other ways of doing it, but it's a very good way of doing something just before your evening parish council meeting and you want to say, take a look at this, guys. You've got a nice big red square or circle that highlights what you want to talk about. So I'm going to go back to the tools menu and say that if you go into the entry here in the knowledge base, it tells you all sorts of different ways you can use annotate, which we don't have time to go into today, but it's just a hint to you that there is a lot of support, particularly around this entry. It's one of the ones they've rewritten recently. So the last item on the tools menu was the asset register export, which is one of these fabulous things that they've added quite recently. So when you do the export, it comes up with this column in the left, and basically it says every single layer in which you've got data has been selected from the asset register. But if you want to sort of deselect ones or select only others, you can go in here and just toggle them on or off. But for the sake of today's report, I'm just going to click on the report with all the defaults taken. At the moment, you can only export to a PDF. Because they put it in a box here with a little down arrow, I suspect we're going to get given other formats in due course. They just haven't done them yet. So when I click on generate report, the system was away. Yes, that's why I left a note here in case you all thought nothing was happening at your end. It can be quite a big report that this thing is generating, so it looks as if nothing much is happening, but it will, in fact, in due course, stop worrying, and you'll get a click on open here, which we're going to do, and you see this nice report out in PDF format, and then there's all these individual pages going on ad infinitum. Excellent for when you're sending your annual report to the insurance company or whatever, and you want to make sure you've covered every item that your parish owns. It's a great system. All right, so we've finished those main items of the menus. The next one in line would be create, but we're going to be using that later, so I'm jumping over it and going to search. So up here on the search, it's a box that most people sort of tend to miss, but you've got the choice of putting in either an address or a postcode. And depending on which you select, you just fill in the data accordingly. So to show you how, I said I selected postcode and I chucked in somewhere in the region of Norwich. And lo and behold, it's jumped to, I guess, Drayton is what I was talking about. And it puts a little dot in that represents the central point of the postal code that you selected. So it's a great way, and you see I've jumped across the country. So I was in Somerset, I'm now in Norfolk somewhere. And by the same token, if I go back up and change this to an address, I've typed in the first house, Riverwoods, which was somewhere where I grew up many, many years ago. And it's like one of those things on your smartphone where it tries to guess what it is that you're typing. So as you start typing in, it begins giving you a list of choices of things that match what you're looking for. And I tied it down to that this is the only one that I wanted. So I clicked on there and it's come up with this land. And as it happens, this is in Marlow in Buckinghamshire. And we had a house quite close to the river being the Thames. So that's the search box. Very useful for leaping around the country. If you remember where your grandmother lives up in Scotland somewhere, you can just type in the postcode and it'll show up in her house. Very neat. All right, so the last item on the top row of menu items is the cogwheel. And this gives you a little drop-down list, and I'm selecting administration. And it comes up with what looks like an empty page, which is because you're mostly newcomers, starters, you're probably going to get an empty page. But you'll see that when I recorded this, there's got this little arrow whizzing around here saying it's busy downloading from the cloud all of my parish layers. So if I move on to the next slide, you can see, yes, it suddenly started coming up with the layers that we use. So layers is a completely different topic, and we're going to be talking about them shortly. So again, ignore those. I'm moving on to my organization, clicking there. And it just tells you basically that you've got your PSGA number, what it is, and that you've subscribed to the APG data set. If this is all gobbledygook to you, come to the next training session because it's all explained there. But basically, having a PSGA number, which is a free thing for any parish council, gives you far more detail on the Ordnance Survey map. And having the aerial photography of Great Britain is fabulous for taking or for looking at aerial photographs of where you are. So now we're going to take a look at users. And it pops up with all the users you've created, which may be one or none for you. Well, it's almost bound to have the admin in there, but you may not have any others. So I've assumed that you have got some. To find out the details of one, you click on it, and it'll all pop up on the right-hand side here. So I'm just clicking on Tony. Now you can see what his account name is, who he is, what he does, what his email address is, and what level of access we've given him. Now, I think I go further. Yes, if you didn't have anybody here and you wanted to add someone, then you click on this plus sign. And you get another of these screens, you just fill in all the details. Notice how most of them are surrounded in red, which means they're required fields, and it won't let you save until you fill them all in. And the one I just wanted to point out to you is that this email address has to be unique. So I've got an account on our system for every one of the types of system there are. So I've got a reader account, I've got an editor account, I've got a data manager account, just so I can see what happens to people who come in with just those rights. And I tried using the same email address for all of them, and it really got very upset and shirty with me. And then a little hint to you, any of you who are using Gmail, if you put a dot or a plus sign in your email address before the @ sign, you can then put whatever you like. It all goes to your original email address, but Parish Online thinks it's a completely different person, which is really nice. So I send all of my emails to GC Stones, and then I put a plus, and I've got reader or data manager or editor @ gmail.com, and it says that's fine, you're a unique person, which is true, of course, but so type, it needs a lot of explanation, and rather than my doing it, it's done very well for you in the help desk, the knowledge base. So I've just put a link in there for you to go there if you want to read about it. We're moving on now to public maps. We jump over because that's really a topic all on its own. Suffice it to say at this point that I think it's the most useful feature within Parish Online. It's absolutely splendiferous. So if you don't know about public maps and would like to, give me a shout. But it's more I can cover in this session today. And then billing is probably self-explanatory. I just went to show you the layers there. Clicking on billing, and up it comes with the details, which only an administrator level can see. So if you can't get into billing, that's probably because you're not the administrator. All right, so next choice on the cogwheel was help and support. If you click on that, it takes you to this new system within XMAP's knowledge base. For those of you who don't know, Parish Online has a big brother called XMAP. Parish Online covers the UK, XMAP covers the world. But it's called the XMAP Support Center, but it is also Parish Online, and you can either collect on knowledge base or community, depending on what you want to do, or you can look at your tickets. And by the way, if you ever have to open a ticket to Parish Online, this is where you do it. And they are phenomenally good at responding. So a lot of help desks, you get a note that says, we've got your request, we'll get back to you within 5 days. Parish Online, I've rarely had to wait more than an hour before they come back with the answer. They're very good. So just mention that in passing, but this is where you go for help. Just open a ticket and say, it isn't working, it doesn't do what I think you should do, why not? And they'll come back to you and say, you poor fish. So if I click on knowledge base, just to show you what it looks like, the most important thing is the search box here. You can type in anything you want to do. If you want to add a layer, you want to edit a feature, or you've got no idea what users are, you just type them in and it'll come up with the system, or you can just work your way through this list. So the sort of nice handy little thing like my layer won't load, it's stuck with a spinning circle, what can I do? I think that's a recent addition, and I'm very fond of it. The community forum is the other tab up there. They've just started that. It's brand new, and at the moment there's nothing in it, but it's the sort of place you can go to and say, why doesn't this happen? And someone who's online will come back and say, I agree with you, why doesn't that happen? And then someone else will come back and say, because. But it's a bit like any modern social media layer, but it's built into Parish Online. Very convenient. All right, so we're moving now. We've gone through the tedious bit of all the menus. Now we have the bit where we play, and I hope you're all looking and keen to play. What we're going to do is give you a layer of each type to create, and then we're going to add a feature to each layer, and we'll do an edit of the layer and the feature, and we're not going to add an attachment unless I find that we got more time than I thought we'd have. So on the next slides, I'm just saying what you need to have before you can do this. And some of it's stating the obvious. You need to have Parish Online up and running. You need to have at least editor access and so forth. You're going to have, unless you've got 2 screens, you need to be able to jump back and forth between what I'm about to show you and what you're going to be doing on your Parish Online. So I hope you're familiar with that, but if you aren't, this is an introduction to Alt-Tab or Command-Tab if you're on Macs. This is all assuming that you're all on PCs, so those of you with a tablet, I'm very sorry, I can't cater to everything on one screen. So on the Zoom screen, you're going to be seeing what I think you ought to be doing, and on your own screen, you're going to be doing it. If you have problems, give a shout, or if you are not in a mood for doing anything, you can just sit back and relax. All right, so layers in Parish Online. The only place you can create layers is in the Parish layers. You know you've got hundreds and hundreds of layers in Parish Online, but they're all provided to you by third parties, and so it's their data. You can't change them. But there is a facility for you to create whatever you like. And as you notice from my layers, we've got hundreds of them, really, really useful, splendiferous stuff. So you add, or you create a layer first, and then you add a feature to it. And layers are made up of three types of geometry. They're either points, things like bus shelters, grit bins, trees, or they're lines, footpaths, boundaries, or they're everything else, which is a polygon. But each layer can only be one of those types. So you have to sort of set up a layer, you set up the columns that represent the data that you're going to store, and then in the feature, you actually add the data and you place the feature on the map, you give it a location. So that's what we're going to do now. And we're going to say, I want you to create 3 columns in each of your layers, call them name, date, and status. The name field will be a text one, the date will be a date, and the status, we're just going to introduce you to, it says allowed required values there. I meant to say allowed values. I need to change that. So let's start by creating a point layer with these 3 columns. Then we'll do the same with line, and then finally we'll do it with polygon. So going into Parish Online, here we go. So the first thing you want to do is to go up to your Create menu and click on New Layer. And if you can't see the Create menu, then you don't have the right account, I'm afraid. Hopefully everyone has. No one's waving ahead. I've got a very large cat looking at me from somebody, but never mind. So hopefully you're all into New Layer. Up comes a title, and I'm just saying put in something random like Graham's test point, or put your name in so that you can go back to it later. And when you're ready, click on Next. Now this is where we create the geometry type. You've got 3 choices here. If you choose point for this one, please. And if you want to put in any extra text that sort of gives you more details of what you're doing, you can put it in there and then click on Next. And you get create a new layer, and you're going to add columns. Now, columns are basically the fields of data that you're adding to your record. You need at least 1. So click on the plus sign at the top here, and you get that. And that's fine. And one of the ones I asked you to create was a name field, a text field called name. So that's good. Click on the plus for the second one. And you're now going to get another one called name and a message that says you must have a unique name. So you're going to have to change this one. So just overwrite it and call it date. And then go into this field in the middle and change it from text to date. And when you're all ready, click on plus for the last one, which I'm doing. And now it'll come up with name again. Change the name to status. It stays as a text field, but now we're going to want you to click on an add plus here to get some required values in there. So no one's waving frantically to say they're stuck. So I'm assuming you're all with me. So click on the add plus for the status field, if you would, please. And it says, what values do you want to put in here? And I suggested to you that the values we should put in today are, first of all, click on this add button on the top right. You can put in not yet started. And then click on the add button again, put in under construction, and again, put in finished. And when you're ready, you click on the confirm button. So I'm just going to do that. And you should be seeing now something like this. So you've got your name, your date, your status, you've got text, date, and text, and you've got 3 items in your allowed values for the status field. If you're all happy, click on finish. And if you're not, you get the chance to go back and change it with the back button. Again, no one is looking frantic yet, so I'm assuming we're all going to click on finish, which I'm going to do. And you go back to the main screen, and under parish layers, you will find something called by whatever name you called your layer. So if you had a lot of layers there before in the parish layers, yours will have arrived at the bottom. But I suspect that if most of you are starting afresh, you probably haven't got very many in the parish layer column. So I hope everyone's been able to find their layer. And then I need to click on it to see what I'm going to do next. We're going to make one of the columns required. Now, you remember when I showed you the user panel to add new users, they had red frames around some of the columns because they required data, and the system won't let you save a new feature until you filled in any required field. So it's a good idea to have one of them required. So you always make sure that a data record doesn't get saved with nothing in it. You need to have something so you can find it again in future. So what we're going to do now is show you how to make one of the columns required. So we're going to click on the cogwheel at the top and click again on administration. You'll come up with your list of layers, which I imagine will be fairly short for most of you, and you should be able to see your layer, which is something like test point or whatever you've called it. And you click on it once to select it. And then if you need to, you can come up to the layer details, which I've had to scroll up, but you probably didn't need a list to be there. And you'll see that your 3 columns are listed. The search and the query columns are both set up for you with tick marks, but the others are left blank. Don't worry about public and link for the moment. They don't bother us today, but we do want to put a click mark in the required box for name. So all you do is just click once there. And you should end up with something that looks like this now. And then when you're happy, just click on the yellow save icon at the top. And you should get a check. And are you sure you want to save these? And you say, yes, please. So click on save. And then you'll get a little green label up here saying it's successfully saved, but it's only there for about 5 seconds and then it disappears. So if anyone got a red one, then it's probably because you had a connectivity issue, but no one's looking unhappy. So I guess you've all got green ones, which is good. So now we're going to go, I think, back to the maps by clicking on the globe up there, which we did. So just to summarize where we are, you've clicked on your first new layer. It was a point layer, hopefully. You've given it 3 columns. We've made the status column to require allowed fields. And we're now going to do exactly the same thing for geometry for a line layer and geometry for a polygon layer. So I think I've been really clever and said, this is what you've got to do, but I'm going to leave you to do it to see if it's sunk in. So basically you need to go back to the top row menu, create new layer, and off you go. Give it another name, but call it a line this time. Select the geometry for a line, and through you go. Go back and see if you can remember how to make the name column a required column, and then do the same again for polygons. And I expect this will take me all of a sip of my coffee whilst you're doing that. I'm horrified by the look of total and utter confidence and happiness on everyone's faces. You're obviously scooping this up, no trouble at all. So I'm dependent upon you guys to tell me when you finish doing a line layer and the polygon layer. So I'm waiting on you, basically. And if anyone's got any issues, let me know so that we can go in and see if we can fix it.
can I just ask something?
Be my guest.
It says give the layer. So I put my name, test line. Then it says select the geometry line. So I put in Jan's test line, and then it says existing layer suggestions.
Oh yes, it's trying to be helpful, and it's looking at what you're trying to do, and it says, "Oh, I've already got one of those. Do you want to copy one of those?" So for today's exercise, the answer is
ignore
no.
them.
Yeah,
ignore
exactly.
them.
Ignore them. Yes.
Right.
Sorry.
Thank you. Yes. Yes. Got it now.
Great question. I'll remember to make a note about fixing it.
I haven't pressed something somewhere, Graham. I've gone to administration and nothing's coming up under columns.
Do you have anything under layers?
Yes.
In the middle, you do. And
I've got the layer I did with you, and I've got the layer I've just done.
okay, so for something to come up in columns, you need to actually click on one of those layers so it's highlighted, and then they should just pop up for you.
No.
Is that a yes or a no?
Same issue here.
Okay.
Nothing's coming up, whichever layer I click.
All right. So Phil, so Ralph, you're having the same issue?
Yeah, I'm just going to edit and making sure that under edit, you can't make a required field from there.
I tell you what, let me just briefly stop sharing my screen. Let one of you share your screen, whichever one you'd like to be.
Mine's on a separate device, so I can't do mine.
Okay. So
yeah, mine's on a separate device too.
You on the separate device.
With mine, I went into edit, couldn't do anything, so I've come out of edit. Now when I click on the layer and then columns, it's now there. So
blended, right?
Like that.
The question is, Philip, are you having the same issue still?
So yeah, that's there now. Perhaps it's a time thing.
Yeah, maybe if you've got a slow connection. Anyway, let me go back to showing my screen then. Is everyone ready for the next step? No hold ups. Okay, let me go back.
Well, I haven't done my status bit yet on this.
Haven't done your whip bit?
I haven't done my status bit.
Oh, okay. Oh, there's no rush. You can.
Okay, mine's come up at last.
Good. Well, that's positive news. Am I just going to move on to the next slide, see what we do next?
Oh, yes, not yet.
Okay.
I haven't had time to do the polygon layer, but does that matter?
But I don't think it's critical. It's the principle of the thing that we're doing today.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and add a feature. So we're going to go back to your point layer and add a feature. So you need to be back on the main screen where you can see your layers here. And what you're going to do is go into the point layer and just right click in it. And up will come this little mini menu. And you're going to click on add feature. That all making sense?
No.
Okay. So are you back at the main menu with your layers columns on the left-hand side, column of layers?
Right, where's my layers? Parish layers. Right, so I've got my test point and test line.
Okay, so click on the test point with a right click.
Oh.
And this little mini menu will come up.
Hang on.
Yeah, got it.
Good.
How do I right click? Because I'm using a Mac.
With a mouse without buttons on it.
Yeah, I'm using the pad.
Or left click on the cog.
Oh, on the cog, right, okay. Oh yes, add feature style table view filter. Yeah.
There you go. So just add feature.
Right, okay. Right.
So I'm going to click on add feature. And you'll see that your column on the left has now changed into a feature editor column. And basically it's come up with your 3 fields and say, please put some data in it. And hopefully your name one is now in red because we made it a required field.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead and chuck in some data, one for each of them, name, date, and status. Status you're going to pick from the drop-down list. And I've just suggested that for argument's sake, we're going to make that Where am I going to make it? Yeah. So what I've done is said you need to have somewhere to put these things. So I've zoomed in to give myself some empty space. So you may want to zoom in and find somewhere that you're going to put your point or your line or your polygon. And again, for demonstration purposes, I'm putting all in the same place on our recreation ground, but you can choose wherever you like to put yours. So I've suggested that the status on this first record be not yet started. And I've now showing I've put in the details. Well, not actually, I've got the wrong slide here. I'm so sorry. And you should see that your save button down the bottom is grayed out, but your mouse should be a crosshairs, and you need to move it to wherever you want this point to be. So if it's going to be a bus shelter or a tree or a bench or whatever your point is in your mind's eye, find a space for it and just click on that space. And you'll get a little blue circle like this one.
Oh, right.
And now you'll find that the save button down the bottom is no longer grayed out because you've actually put a location on the map. And so now please click on save. So your blue dot should have turned to red, indicating that you've finished editing it. And the left-hand feature editor should have changed to a blank record because it's ready for you to enter the next one. And if you recall, we're going to do another feature, but it's going to be doing it in a different layer. We want to do it in the line layer this time. So move up to the top, select a layer box, click on the down arrow and select your line entry. And then you can go ahead and I've just put a listing here showing you the sorts of things that will pop up. But I think you've probably only got 1 or 2 each, or 3 maybe if you've been quick. Select the line entry 1. And I've suggested you select the under construction status for this one, but again, it's irrelevant. And then because it's a line, when you put details into the fields, you can then move your mouse as a crosshairs to wherever you want the line to start. And I'm assuming it's going to be a footpath, but that's just for argument's sake. I've started it from the dot that we put in on the last move. So you, again, as before, you click once to start it, and then just move the mouse and the blue line will follow it until you want to change direction. Click again and you can change direction and go on and on and on until you get to where you want to be. When you're at the end of the footpath or whatever it is, just double click. And you'll find that you're now able to save. So click on save, which is what I'm doing. And your line again stops being blue and changes to red, showing that you've now got it as a firm record. It's saved. And you've got yet another choice of putting in a new record for the third layer. So you can select your polygon layer at the top, enter in some data. I've suggested that this one is going to be finished. And you can then go ahead and draw in your polygon. Now I was, what's the word? Bold, ambitious. And so I created a complicated building like this. Same principle, start in one corner, click, follow the mouse down with a blue line, click again, change the direction, click again, and you follow it all the way around until you've met up, and then you double click to finish. And then you'll be able to save. Everyone with me still so far? No shrieks of horror.
Where's your polygon? Sorry.
Where is my polygon? Oh, this blue one here.
Oh, you've done. Oh, right. Okay, I've done that. Right, okay. Do one of those.
You can draw it whatever you like. You can draw a crocodile if you prefer.
I've got to go. Where's me?
I think our recreation ground would be quite upset if there was a crocodile there, but you never know. The children might like it.
What am I doing wrong? Select a layer. Why can't I do? Jan's test point, Jan's test line.
So on the screen, what have you got showing on the left-hand side?
I've
it
got feature editor, Jan's test point, Jan's test line.
right?
Uh-huh.
So, oh, did you, maybe you didn't finish doing Jan's polygon layer, did you?
Ah, perhaps I didn't do a polygon layer then.
No, that's why you can't see it. So don't worry. We'll
Oh,
just,
no, I haven't. No, I've only got the point and the line. Yes.
okay, there you go.
Then.
So you can
Right.
just skip this step.
Yeah, okay.
So
fine.
now we're going to click on save,
Yes, I've done
which
that.
I will do. And now you'll see that the building has also gone from being blue to being red, showing it's been saved. And you should see all three items now on your screen at the same time. There's the building, there's the point, and there's the line.
Right.
And that's the last of the features we're going to add. So we can close the feature editor by clicking on the X at the top, which I'm doing. And now you should come back to your main screen, your main column of layers, and you'll see there's a tick mark to show that you're showing multiple layers at once. So if you now turn off one of those ticks just by clicking on it, you'll discover that whatever it was you've turned off disappears. So you can see how you can add layers of data together, or you can add them separately, or you can do whatever combination meets your current requirement. So hopefully people got something similar to what I'm showing, but enough to know where you're going. I'm on to my next screen. So I'm going to summarize what we've done. We've gone through the top row of menus and hopefully covered the major points in each one. We then added a layer 3 times, one for a point, one for a line, one for a polygon, and we've added a feature to each one. And we've shown all 3 layers working together. And you can just tick them on or off so you can see how you can turn them on, turn them off all at once. I've pointed out that the help and support menu is really useful, and I've given you a separate link here. If you click on the here, it takes you straight to the knowledge base because there is a lot of helpful information in there. And I have a nasty feeling that we're there. So I'm now wide open for questions, chat. There were some chat session questions in this, so I'll go in there. One thing just for you guys, that if there's anything that you'd like to see a training session on and you don't see it anywhere, then please do let me know, because I'm just thirsting for work to sit down and write these new things. So let me come back to share and go into the chat and see what the questions were in there. I don't have be able to permission. Oh, sorry, Tracy. Well, that's sad. Maggie, I've been told you don't need any. Well, I would. I think it's very rare for people to be given read-only status. I think it sounds like an administrator that is not familiar with what can be done with Parish Online, and I'd be delighted to help those people who haven't been given permissions to chat to your parish clerks and work out why this should be. And Guy's having trouble because he can't see Parish Online and the instructions together. Yeah, that was why I wanted people to be able to jump from one tab to another on their browser. I'll gladly go over that with you guys separately if that helps, or even if you're in a position to do it on your screen, we can show you now.
Can I just ask, can we remove those dots and lines that we put on?
Oh, absolutely. They'll be very helpful. I showed you that, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Let's go back into the system. And we want to go actually into Parish Online. I'm going to go into this time. Let me turn on Parish Online. A new screen, one of those, one of those, one of those. Now, in the parish layers, you should see your layers, which I've got point, test, line, and polygon, just like you have.
Mm.
If you click on them, the points that you put in come up. If you click on the point, in this case, there, up comes the record in the column. You can click on, say, yes, it's that record. And here it is. And the dustbin will delete it for you.
Right.
Or if you want to be brutal, you can delete the entire layer, which you will know instinctively from this fabulous course that you've attended today that you do up here in the cogwheel administration. So click on the cogwheel, go into administration, pause for a moment whilst the layers come down, and then you say, I want to get rid of that one. So highlight it, click on the dustbin. So in principle, if you want to edit it, you click on the pencil. And if we go back to where we were, waiting for the speed of British Telecom, back here in these layers, if you wanted to say, edit the line, no longer that footpath where I've got it, could be better done, just click on the path. You might need to zoom, no, it has got it there. And now you can click on the pencil and edit it. And what is usually very convenient is to zoom in at this point and say, you know, this line doesn't really kink there in the middle. So because I'm on the middle of edits, I can go in here and just shift it. Okay, so say it's like that. And there is a principle in Parish of Line, which I'm a great fan of, which is do everything rough and ready first. Don't do complicated boundaries and buildings. If you're, for instance, let's put a new line around the boundary of this recreation ground, just for giggles. So, yeah. So we're going to do a line. We're going to add a feature. We're going to zoom in a little bit to get a bit of space here. And we're going to say, I want to go around this field. So I start here, I zoom around, and I just do it very roughly because we'll skip the play area and we'll say we'll go across here and we'll go up there and we'll go there. And then we'll just do that. And it's very rough and ready. And I've double clicked to say I've finished, and it's going to want a name. So it's a Graham. We don't care about these, so I can save it. And now to edit it, I can come out of the feature editor and double click, or sorry, just click on any of the boundary and say Graham's test line, Graham's boundary. Now I can edit it. All right, and the trick is to zoom in. All right, so the more scale you've got, the easier it is to see where the changes that you need. And you say, well, that's got no business being there. It should be there. And oops, a bit more scale needed. So make it bigger. And then you can say, you know, this is where you should be. And you should be there. And you should be there. And so it goes, you see? And now it's very much more accurate and easy, and curves a series of straight lines, but short straight lines to get a curve. So you can see how we're doing it, and you know, you can just imagine how it is to go on. And when I'm happy, I save. But now when you look at this, you see that boundary line follows much more closely the edge of the field. So rough and ready to start, just get it in place and then edit it on a much bigger scale to get precision, if that helps.
Yes.
Good. I'm wide open to questions.
I've got a couple.
Okay.
We've got allotments under, I'll find my page again, under the parish council layers, under land, and it's an option under land. So,
it's under what's called a national layer. And it's,
So,
there's one for allotment boundaries, which you should probably have, and then there's one for allotment plots, which you can add in the individual plots of land within your allotments.
As a national thing, but also under the parish, under the asset register list,
right?
And you go into land.
Yes.
You can add a feature, and the drop down. No, where's it gone? No, perhaps it's not that. I've got to find it again now. I was playing the other night, as you can appreciate. Under land, I could add an allotment. I thought, okay, that's two places I can add allotments, which is a bit confusing.
Oh, well, I think it depends upon whether your allotment is a parish asset, in which case it belongs in the asset register, particularly if you're charging money for it. But in many places, it's an entirely separate municipal corporation or some private company that's actually administering the allotments. But if I can just go back to sharing my screen. Let's come down here to allotments. Okay, so this is slightly different from usual. The National Allotment Society has opened its database to Parish Online and said, here are where we think all the allotment boundaries are, but they may be way out of date, but here's where we think they are. So you can say, okay, here's an allotment boundary. I've turned it on. Now I happen to know there's a really complicated set of allotments up the road from us in Pimsbury, for those of you who know the area. Hopefully it's on that corner. Yeah. So here it is, and it's already there as a nice big allotment boundary. And if you click on it, it'll tell you about it. And none of the questions has been answered by the Hewish Episcopi parish clerk. So I need to go ahead and rant and rave at her. But the point that I'm trying to make for you is in trying to be helpful is that a lot of parishes do like to know how many allotments there are, how many plots, and who owns them, who farms each one, and do they pay a rent on it or what? And that comes under individual plots. And all I'm going to be showing you is how you get the plots mapped out easily. So we're going to go into not allotment plots, but the plots there. So it just turns it on. Here's the gardens down here. So we need to zoom in a little bit. Let's get some more data here. And what we've always got here is the boundaries, which is worthless when it comes to storing the plots. And I've got a couple here that just showed you how I did this for somebody else before. But the neat trick is to turn on the overhead photography. So you turn on photography, there'll be a pause whilst we wait for it to download because photographs are quite detailed. And it takes a little bit of time, but it really is worth it. We might go a bit further up in scale here. And just pause peacefully, talking amongst yourselves. You can be beginning to see the photographs coming in. Now you wait a bit longer because there's more detail to come. But another little helpful trick up here, we've got a combination of photograph and map on at the moment, and that's a pain in the neck. So turn off the map. So you can just do that and you've got 100% photograph, or just as in passing, I think this is very neat. You can turn the map back on and say, right click on the cogwheel, and I want to vary the transparency. 100% blocked is total map, 0 photographs, or 0 is total photographs and no map. But you can go somewhere in between the two and you get a sort of own little mixture, which can be helpful as you play around. But the really point I wanted to make was to turn off that. You've got your plots on. So now it's a simple matter to measure each plot. Just add a feature. So we come down to, where are we? Allotments. Going to add a feature. Sorry, there we go. And now I can just outline each individual plot. So there, and there. And that was Fred's. And so we save that. And now I go ahead on the next one, and I'm going to do this one. And I've got, sorry, there. And that's Taft's. And so it goes. But you're using the overhead photography to do all the plotting for you. So the story I like to tell was when I was showing this to somebody, and he said, could you just zoom in down here? And we sort of zoomed in and zoomed in. He had a huge sigh of relief. And he said, I thought my wife was going to see me sitting in the beach chair drinking beer. But fortunately, he wasn't there. But the detail you can get is fabulous. I mean, if we had the time, you could zoom right in and start looking at, you can almost count the carrots. A bit frightening, really, but really useful for you as a councillor or clerk trying to count up the number of plots and how much area each one is. And that's all, it's all done for you if you just trace around the photograph. I hope that helped.
Yeah, that's great. I've got another one, sorry.
Go ahead, Ralph.
So I was having a play, because I'm still at the playing stage. So outdoor property and street furniture. So I've added all the street lights, the bins, the bus shelters, and it gets quite crowded. Of course, so on that one layer, you've got all this stuff. So
Yes. So then you want to talk about filtering. So we can just continue here. Let's kind of turn off the photography, turn back on the map. And sometimes this thing needs a bit of a kick. So I refresh it to say, start thinking again what we're doing. And if you're in your asset register, was it? And you were saying you were doing outdoor furniture, which we don't have much of, but the principle is you can click on, right click here and come down to, isn't that interesting? Where, oh, because you're in the asset register. Yes, I'm sorry. If you're in parish layers, there's a choice down, an additional choice called filter, and you can just filter out those ones that you don't want. So you might say, I've got all the street lamps and the, I don't know, parking space or whatever else the outdoor furniture lists together, and say, if there's anything with the word lamp in it, then don't show it to me, and all the street lights go out.
Yes.
And that sort of thing. So that's the way around that.
So again, when would you use, so I could create a parish layer of lamps or outdoor furniture. So why would I create one there and not an asset register?
It depends who owns them, is one thing. And the other is used by everybody who uses Parish Online. So the infrastructure is not changeable by you. Those fields that it gives you, the columns, they're used across the country. So you can't go making your individual choice. Now, a lot of people are beginning to say, actually, we need to know if it's a sodium light, if it's an LED, if it's fluorescent, is it on a concrete post, a metal post, a fiberglass post? So we need more data than you've got in there. And whilst we're waiting for Parish Online to update the lighting feature, which they're doing, they're actually going to strip it out of there altogether because there's so many requests for it. That's when you would say, well, I'm going to create my own layer in the meantime and get on with it.
Right.
And so that's why you have one in the parish layer and one in the asset register, because the asset register isn't recording all the detail that you need. Incidentally, you can do the street lights using that overhead photography as well, because usually there's a shadow, and all the street lamps are shown by the photographs.
I was doing it. I was playing last night. That was a brilliant thing.
Yes. Isn't it magic? It's wonderful. I just think it's just tremendous that you can just go along to the base of the shadow, and that's where the lamp is. Okay, I'm wide open to more questions. I think, oh, did I answer all the ones in the chat? Let me just see. If I did that, chat. No, I mean, all these people who haven't got the rights or the permissions, I'm very sorry. Let me, by all means, include me in if you want to send a rude email to your administrator saying, Graham says I got to have access, and we can start what you might call a negotiation, or you might call an argy-bargy, or you might call just a straight request for assistance. But this is such a great program that I really think everybody ought to be able to have at least editor rights so that you can access a layer and change some data in it.
Can I just, on my Brushford, because I've just taken over from the old parish clerk,
right,
who used to be here, and if you look at my Brushford map, there's
you want to share your screen with us, Jan? Can you do that?
How do I do that?
Well, if you go into Zoom, down the bottom, there'll be a green icon called share. Just click on that.
Toggle map mask, green icon.
Oh, no, you're not in your Zoom window. You need to be in the Zoom window.
Hang on. Oh, no, I didn't join this via Zoom.
I'm afraid you did.
Did I? Oh, well, I don't know. Where are you? Where are we talking about? on
Well,
here?
it may be a tab. Do you know about alt tabs? Are you using a Mac or are you using a regular
Mac.
PC? Mac. Okay, so you need to do Command Tab.
Command.
And if you hold down the Command key and Tab, each time you knock the tab, you go to a different window, and you just wait until you found the Zoom window.
No, it's not.
Is that working?
No.
Well,
it's
Jan,
just
there's, if I'm on a Mac, it's along the bottom. You've got a blue box with a white video sort of icon in it. If you click on that, the Zoom will pop back up.
In the taskbar, yes.
Yeah.
hang on,
Sorry.
hang on. Let me just. I don't know what I've done here. Go back to where am I going?
You want to, if you like to share your screen, Sarah Jane, then you can show Jan, or I can do it. I'm on a Mac as well, whichever you wish.
Hang on.
One sec.
So Jan, you're about to be shown how you do it.
Oh, I'm on two screens.
It's all right. Well, you're working your way through. I can certainly see this.
Hang on. All my stuff.
Yeah,
That's no good.
It's gone. Yeah.
Hang on. What are you seeing? I'm not sure what you're seeing.
I'm seeing a compose email.
Yeah, hang on a sec. Right, let's try again.
Stop sharing.
Probably because I've got. That should work. Right, try and share again. No, it's not. I don't know. I've got. I'm not being much help. Yeah, along the basically, I've got the sort of taskbar along the bottom, and I've just got the.
If you click on that, it's not jumping to that, or is it?
Maybe that's. No, that's not
gallery.
Sorry, that's not what I meant to do.
No, gallery. I don't think is right for you, Jan.
Because at the bottom of it, you've got your taskbar.
Hang on. Have I? No,
Should,
I haven't. Oh, hey, yellow. Right.
Depends how your Mac set up. Yes.
What's that now? FaceTime.
Don't need that one. Sorry, I don't know why that's not working.
Because
I'm no
I
expert either.
joined this. It said if you can't join if you haven't got Zoom installed, join by using your browser, which is what I did.
Yes. So you'll have a browser tab with Zoom in it, and let me just see how you can look at that. So when I do Command Tab, Jan, I get up my Zoom icon and I get up my browser icon. If I go into the browser icon, then it shows all the tabs that are open in the browser, and one of them will be your link to Zoom.
If I do Command Tab, it takes me to my home screen, my blank wallpaper screen. If I do Command Tab.
How interesting. Are you famous for having a Mac that does differently from everybody else in the world?
Well, I don't know, because this is the thing that the old
Oh, I see. The previous person had set up.
gave
Right.
me.
Not your
Yes.
Mac. Okay, that's a problem. I can see that. I don't know how to change that. What you could do, of course, is just join again.
What, leave and then come in again?
Well, you don't need to leave. You can just go into your calendar or wherever you stored the link and just click on it and come in twice. And that ought to show you which one is your Zoom link.
All right,
What we're trying to do is you're explaining what isn't working for you, right? So I do need to see your screen.
Join meeting.
Yep.
Click allow on the change. Click allow on the dialog shown by your browser. If you don't see a dialog, click launch meeting below. Click launch meeting below. Don't have Zoom client installed, download now. Having issues with Zoom client, join from your browser.
Right.
So join from my browser, click on that. Allow US02 web.zoom.us to use your camera. Yes, all of that.
Well, we may have just lost you. Didn't work out the way. Oh, there we go. Okay, you're back, Jan.
Yes.
Now, can you see a tab for your Zoom meeting anywhere that's popped up in your browser? What are you using, Safari or something?
Yes.
Okay, so I don't use Safari, so I can't remember how it works. But has it got separate tabs for each window that it's looking at? Can you remember, Sarah Jane, please?
Yeah, if you can you click on Safari at the bottom, Jan,
Yeah.
and then you should have any windows that you've got open, you know, tabs along the top now, and one should have Zoom written on it.
Zoom in, zoom out. Under view.
No, that's not the right sort of Zoom.
Thank you, Zoom. With the world. Under history. No.
If I click on Safari, my Safari comes up and I've got about sort of 6 windows open, and one would, if I was using it through Zoom through browser, would be my Zoom link, and you just click on the one that says Zoom.
No, well, I click on Safari and nothing happens. Absolutely nothing happens.
Must be hidden behind another layer or something.
Right, hang on. Right, let's get shut of that. Let's get thank yous. What's this? Thank yous. Attending the meeting. Join the meeting. Thank you for attending the meeting. Zoom blog. What's this? What's that?
You might say post attendee - Zoom.
Chat with bot.
Okay, so click on there.
Click on that. What's that? Chat with bot.
Oh, no,
Bolt.
sorry, I thought you said that's we've got.
Hi there, I'm the Bolt assistant. Whoa, I don't want that. Zoom blog.
Why blog?
Zoom. Thank you for attending the meeting. Audio plan, Zoom blog. No, go away. No, go away. Go away. This is ridiculous.
You should be able to close down everything that you're not actually using until you're left with just Zoom and Parish Online. That's it.
Right, that's it. Right, now we've got that. Click on that. Nothing happens. What the hell? Where are you? Oh, there you go. Right. No. Go to my screen. When I go to my Parish Online screen, I go down the bottom with my arrow, it doesn't bring up any of my icons.
And are you in full screen mode? Can you hit escape?
I am. So should I come out of full screen mode?
I think so, yes.
Right. So now I can. So now I click on Safari. No. Why is this not doing this? Jesus. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Go out of that. Right. That's gone. Why am I in numbers? Get out of that.
So in passing, I don't use Safari. I use something called Opera just because I think it's very much more helpful. So I mentioned that to people. It has a built-in anti-junk mail thing that sort of stops everybody advertising on your pages. And it runs on every device, so you can use the same bookmarks across the whole system.
So if I click on Safari, I've got my XMAP 2.18.0. New window, new private window, options are keep in dock, open login, show in Finder, show all windows, hide or quit. But nothing about sharing screens.
What happens if you, well, no, because you aren't showing the Zoom at the moment. What happens if you click on show all windows?
It just moved back slightly with a blue line around the whole thing.
Right.
No, it's not. It's not messages. No. Oh, this is ridiculous.
Well, whilst you're looking for it, could I just ask if anyone else has?
Well, it's just that looking at your map of Long Sutton,
Yeah.
mine is nowhere near as detailed as that. Does it mean that I have got to sit here and like
Are you
draw
on your
around
Paris
where the-
Online screen? Can you go into administration and then click on my account? I've got myself now. What's it called?
my organization
Yes.
settings?
Yes. And does it say anything about PSGA number or
Yes, and
APG?
yes, enter your 9-digit PSGA license to activate. Well, I don't have one of those.
Okay, that's the issue then. We've solved that one for you, Jan.
Right.
If you go into the knowledge base, that's Cogwheel Help and Support.
Hang on, I've got to go back now to where I was. Because it says if you don't have a PGSA number, click here to get one for free.
All right, that'll do it then. Go that way. That's fine. Just go ahead and do that. And
Right, so that's one, yes, okay.
that should
so
also lead you automatically to an APGB aerial dataset subscription, which again is free and easy, and it should follow one from the other.
yes, apply your APGB subscription to your account. You need a PSGA to access. Yeah, so I've got to get one of these PSGA numbers.
Right, but that's
So I could ask the
very
old.
quick and easy to do, you know.
Well, I've lost. Oh, there you. I could ask the old clerk if he's got a PSGA. No, because he
Well,
won't have done.
it would have been, he should have installed it here. It's installing
Yes.
it here that counts.
Right, I'll get one, and then it'll be much better.
Okay, there you go.
Right, thank you.
Pleasure.
God.
What can we do for anyone else? Anybody?
Graham, can you just say which program it was you said you use instead of Safari?
Opera.
Opera. Okay,
Oh.
thank you.
Opera, as in Grand Old Opera.
Oh, sorry, Opera. Okay, thank you.
Graham, I've just, on the map that seems to come up as soon as I switch on and
Yeah.
I zoom in, I've got all the properties shown in my village with the boundary line around them. If I then go into APGB aerial photography, I can't get rid of the boundaries in the way that you did when you were showing it on the allotments.
But, okay, it sounds like you have one of your layers turned on, Phil, and you're one of these people, you can't share your screen either because it's on a separate device, right?
Yeah.
So let me go in, I'll share you with my screen and see if that helps. So here we go, come out of here, go back to the main system.
Does it show you anywhere where you've got things
I'm
switched on?
just about to show you that. So if you look down your list of
Yeah,
points here, it usually shows you, because there's a circle around it like there is on my PSGA one. Can you see that circle? It means that there's one of those ticks is on.
boundaries administrative. Okay, parish. So if I take that off,
Absolutely, because that one really drives me nuts. I'm really irritated by that boundary thing. So yes, so it sounds like you're on the ball. You got it. Your own parish tends to come back on after a while. It's very persistent, but because it's parish online, it wants you to stay within your.
it won't. It hasn't actually gone away.
What, none of it? Or just
None of it.
all your surrounding boundaries should have gone. It's just that your own parish boundary doesn't turn off.
Oh, sorry. No, I'm talking about the actual houses. If you go zoom in,
Right.
and you're onto a village, and
Yeah.
it shows you the actual houses.
Let me just turn off my own layers because I hate this. Right. So we're going to houses. You can see my screen,
Yeah.
right? So how much further do you want me to go?
Right. Can you switch that off so that you don't have the lines, so that you just see the aerial?
Oh, absolutely. So if you go back up your columns to the PSGA one, and you can see here I'm looking on the OS Premium Stack Standard. That's the one that's on by default. If you want to turn it off, just click on it.
What, the premium stack?
Yes, just turn it off.
Right, got it. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And you, when you turn off the photography as well, you'll have a nice blank screen, Phil. And sometimes the only way to get it back is to do a refresh on this little this thing up here, top right left corner. You need to do a refresh, and that it brings it all back again. It sometimes just gets confused as to where he thinks you are.
Okay.
I am wide open to questions. Everyone's looking very thoughtful, not asking anything.
I'm signed in for next week's very beginners.
Yeah.
Can I then come back after that and redo this one, Graham?
Well, you'll be getting the video of this and the slide presentation, so you can
Great.
You can go through it as often as you like.
Ah, fantastic. And next week is the very beginners, the 101, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Super.
That basically is saying, why on earth have you got Parish Online? What can it do? What can it not do? Why would you want it to do this? And
by that time, I've got to go back to my clerk and say, look, I do need particular, because I have asked once, and I followed the instructions that came with the blurb on this,
right.
And it was well, the minimum you need is I think it was create, but try for data manager.
Yes.
Or managing rather, not manager. And she said no, she hadn't been sent anything to send on to me for that.
Ah, okay, that's an educational issue, Maggie. So
okay,
let me show you that. So in the top right corner, there's the cogwheel.
Yes.
Click on administration.
Right. I haven't got this up, so I'm just following you.
Okay, so on the left-hand side, there's one called users.
Okay.
And then have you got your own account as far as you know? Do you log in as you?
I log in as me, and all I've got next to mine, I think, is admin.
Oh, that's the highest level you can get.
Well, then it isn't coming up for me. That must just be that must just show that we have.
Oh, hang on a minute. No, maybe it's called admin, but we don't know if it's got admin rights. So
yeah,
if you're looking at my screen now,
yep.
If I click on my admin,
yes,
then the user details fills up on the right-hand side.
Right.
And it says, what type of account are you? And I'm an admin.
Yes.
The other choices are down here. If I go into edit this. So if I click here, you can either be a reader, an editor, a data manager, or an admin. And
okay,
you're the person who's using the system more than anybody else. You should be an admin. But if failing that, you should be a data manager.
Right.
And
okay,
if you're down at being a reader, then you can't do anything except look at what other people have done, which is sort of comparatively useful, but not as useful as it could be.
Yes. I see.
So I hope that helps.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Good.
Can I just ask, you said about maps, if anybody wanted to know about maps.
Maps, M-A-P-S?
Yes, hang on, let me come back to you because I've just redone something on the admin thing.
Okay.
Where are you? So I've just done that, go away. That's it, right. Yes, you said something about maps, and you said if anybody wants me to do maps, you would do. When we first started this whole session.
Yes, bear with me. I'm just trying to wheel my mind back to where we were. Was it one of the slides?
No, it's when we first started, and you said, "Oh, if anybody's interested in looking at maps, because you're very keen on them, and just let you know."
Okay, I was looking at, I think, for some specifics of why you would want to look into maps, I guess. You know, what is it you want the system to do for you?
Right. Well, I'll because I'm also because I've just signed up for all 3 of these sessions, so I'm on next
Right.
Thursday's one for the absolute idiots. So
That's not the term I use.
well, no, but that's what we are. And then I'm in the following Wednesday one on the 23rd as well.
Right.
So when I've done all of those, and once I've got my little number, my PG number thing, if there's anything else I want to know, then I'll have the knowledge to be able to ask you.
Well, at the end of this session, I send you all an email with the video and the presentation and a document that says, here are some useful hints. And one of them is that you all need to know about between 3 and 4 o'clock on Friday afternoons. There's a free Zoom session where 4 or 5 or 6 of the usual suspects, who are all themselves parish clerks or councillors, but they've all been using Parish Online for years, are sitting around hoping that someone will call in and say, how the heck do I do this? Or could you please help? Because they're all desperate to show off their knowledge and be cooperative and helpful and friendly. And nothing like enough people call in. So I'm asking everybody, if you have an issue, save it up for 3 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, jump into the Zoom call and say, have I got news for you? And they will be delighted.
That would be
They'll
in
be
the
so
thing that
happy
you
to
send
see
us.
you.
And that's going to
And,
be in the thing that you're going to send us after
Yes,
this.
exactly. Yes.
Perfect.
There is, if we're just chatting generally, there is a Parish Online user group who have a very complicated website name called parishonlineusergroup.com, all one word. And in there is all sorts. Let me just share the screen with you on that one because that's fun. So if I'm going to start a new screen and we'll go there and we'll go there. So if you can see my screen now, the banter sessions on Fridays, you click on the top line and here it shows you where to join in. And all these things are free. And you just register for whichever one you want to go to. And you can do it last minute ad hoc sort of in the next 30 seconds type thing. And we're all very happy to see you. But if I go back to the beginning, there are some very good videos that Parish Online themselves put out, but there's no way of telling easily what they are. So I've got a list of them here in a format that says, this is how long they are. So if you've got a spare 2 minutes, then you don't want to, oh, well, it would help if it came up, wouldn't it? There we go. There we go. So you can see here are the ones that, there's less than 2 minutes long, and here's the one that's longer than an hour. So take your pick as to what you want to do. But some of them are really, really good. And then the ones that I like personally, let me come out of here, sorry, kill that one, are the Somerset ones, which are made by 4 Somerset data layers, but the principle is true to everybody. So if you click on any of these, none of them is longer than 2 minutes, and most of them are less than 1 minute, but they're a really nicely done video by one of the parish clerks from Stratton-on-the-Foss, and he and his wife work together as a team on these things, and I think they're just brilliant. So I mentioned that in passing, and then also, if I go back to the home page, it's not so easy. There we go. There's the help system. So this is for early users, for people who are in there for the first time. You get the screen like this, and then much what we've done today, any one of these that you click on will go into a blow-by-blow account of how you actually do it. So you can click on add a feature, add a new layer, and you'll get, so if I go to that one, for instance, then you can just walk through it. And everything we've done today is done for you step by step by step. And it's just for people who are brand new to the system, because sometimes there isn't a step by step system on the knowledge base. They tend to expect people on the knowledge base. That's why they're rewriting it. So that it's there for people who've not seen the system before. But we've just sort of gone in advance and said, you know, if you want to know how the system works, click on here. And so you can use any of these things, and it'll come and tell you how it works, and you go from there. But what we're trying to do is to get them to incorporate this in their knowledge base, so that instead of having 2 places to go to for help, there's only 1 place to go. And of course, you should go to the manufacturer. He's the expert. So what else do we do on here? Shut that one down. Yes, if you need to know what public maps are or any of these things, they're fun. But the main one really, I think, is the Friday afternoon banter session. Yeah, because
Brilliant.
we get people coming in. How are we all doing? Everyone still happy?
I've got to dive off now.
Okay, well, you're masterful in not having given me a single clue as to what else you'd like training sessions on. Doubtless you're all waiting to get my email so you can write back and say, how come you don't do this?
This is session 102. There's a 103, isn't there?
Yes, that's on the asset register.
Fine. So
And
probably see you again then. Thank you very much for your help. That's very good of you.
it's been lovely to talk to you, Ralph, and see you again next time.
See you
I hope.
again. All the best. Thanks everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. I must go as
Bye,
well.
bye, bye.
That's great. And I'll try and come back for the
Go on.
For the
Yeah.
water.
thank you.
Well, it's been lovely to see you. Well, why don't we call it a day, then I'll shut down the system for everybody. Thank you so
Okay.
much for your time.
Thank you,
And
Graham.
I hope it's been
Thank
helpful.
you.
Yes, it has.
Very good.
Take care.
See
Bye.
you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.